This podcast may contain adult language and themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I've heard so many, there's so many podcasts out there about like white dudes, white Americans just like hanging out in Japan, talking about Japan is great. It's like, yes.
Man, I mean, yeah, like I think
And
that
there's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, like that.
as soon as a woman or a person of color starts speaking up,
Yeah,
they get up in arms. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go
it's
ahead.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that idea. That like, oh, okay, everyone has their own lane, and like it's like whenever you start driving fast in your lane, the person beside you in another lane is like, wait, you can't drive faster than me. Like I gotta.
That's exactly it.
You're
That's
first.
exactly it.
It's like, bro, I'm not racing you. I'm going just the same way, but I'm not racing you. I'm just doing my own thing in my lane. Like, what's
Right.
your problem?
Mm-hmm. Y'all giving it
There's
away
a-
for free.
Yeah. Oh no,
Y'all
it's
giving
just
it away
warm
for
up.
free.
It's
Nah,
just
it's
the
all right.
warm up.
Like I might just start the cold open.
Yeah, let's
honestly.
do it.
They
Oh,
can't.
no.
You can't take us nowhere.
Let's do it. Let's go. We're on demon time. Let's go.
We
Here's the sad
just go. We just going. All right.
Here's the sad part, dude.
So-
We missed the joke. That joke was chef's kiss.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was crazy.
I'm genuinely sad I missed a chef's kiss joke. Anybody listening to this, if just in case we do decide to just start cold open, the homies was earlier than me. They beat me. They were more on time than I was for my own show. It's things happen sometimes, but whatever. So anyway, I mean usually I do try to do a little prep. I do try to be professional radio content, but
Let's go.
It's really you two, that sort of we're building off of each other in a not throwaway tweet that I made the other day. I can't shit.
Well,
I got so much shit going on Twitter, man. It's too much. It's too much.
I can help you out. Like we were talking about people being condescending. We're talking about there's a lot of condescending going on between teachers that were actually teachers before, and they just I think the term crabs in a bucket came up, and
Right.
yeah, man, you in Japan long enough, you'll see a few crabs and a bunch of lobsters too. So
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
I have opinions on this.
Yep. So right, the original context was a tweet I made, basically saying that a lot of the people that because there is a lot of condescension in and around the English teaching in Japan profession, if you want to call it that. It's a job. Really, it's just a job. There is a lot of condescension, and I opined that most of this condescension is coming from people that wasn't really any good at the job in the first place, and
Dang.
don't really understand English or education in the first place, and they think it's a McDonald's level job because they got a McDonald's level understanding of English and pedagogy.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So they can't fathom that somebody might do it and enjoy it and actually be good and effective at it.
Right.
And then y'all two brought this podcast episode to life. So
yeah, because there's bodies to be exhumed, to be examined, and then to just be recommitted to the ground on this topic.
Right. There's so many different reasons why these people feel like this is the case. Like, you can go in from a business standpoint.
Shit. I'm sorry.
You can go in it from the perspective that you've often mentioned, Sam, about how the ALT job in and of itself was created out of desperation by these Japanese teachers, right? So there's a lot of different things that go into it that make people believe that this isn't a real job, quote unquote, real job. But when you get really down to it, if you meet people who are good at it,
right,
then this is a good job, right? You know, it's a matter of people being good at their job rather than just getting a job because I'm just a white guy from America that doesn't have a degree, but I'm married to a Japanese national, and this is the only job I can have because I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also the natural need to make a hierarchy out of generally speaking nothing. Like,
God damn, y'all! I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna let y'all. I'm gonna let y'all do the podcast. God damn it!
my bad.
No. Y'all cooking. This is beautiful.
You know, Sam, that whenever I get on here and whenever we get together, like, it's much better to just let the shit flow.
We gonna piss a whole lot of white people. That's what's.
I mean, I'm an equal opportunity employer, so like I'm ready for everybody. Like,
I mean, I don't gotta do nothing to piss the white people off, though. Like, literally tweeting about nothing that has to do with race, and I'll still get racist comments. So that's a you problem, homie. But to go back real quick to what Will just mentioned about the angle of like desperation, because like people might not get that historical context. The desperation that we're talking about is the desperation to keep their own jobs. Talking about Japanese nationals as English teachers, because the JET program originally was designed to have young people from English speaking countries come over and be the English teacher, not an assistant. Yeah. But the Japanese English teachers kind of, low-key revolted and demanded a concession that, like, okay, if the government's going to force these foreigners upon us in our schools, then we will only go along with this if they are branded as assistants and essentially, stay assistants. Like we want to keep our own jobs. Like, they didn't say that part out loud, but that's where the assistant part comes from. That's where the desperation came from. This fear of losing their jobs. So
yeah. And then it evolved into a pseudo business plan where companies basically cannibalized people's desire to be in Japan, right? And then use that to basically take advantage of multiple generations of passion for culture and history.
God damn.
And also the
I'm
weeb
leaving.
otakus.
I'm just gonna go. Go ahead. I'm just gonna go. I don't need to be.
You're good. You're good. But yeah, that's the way it happened. So
yeah, because of these companies, ALT pay is just a race to the bottom,
Absolutely.
And it's getting worse and worse to the point where now, instead of hiring Westerners from the States, from US, from Canada,
here we go.
Africa, because they're easily exploitable. Africa, the colonies, people from the colonies. So they went from hiring the colonizer to hiring the colonized, just because they're a lot easier to exploit.
Right.
It's so much easier to tell an African Ghanaian, hey, we're gonna pay you peanuts, be grateful, than it is to tell an American, hey, we're gonna only pay you peanuts, be grateful, because the American's gonna be like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. But on that same at that same time, let's take it back to the original topic because it ties right in. When people talk about the hierarchy and shitting on the job, like, they're confusing the profession's value with what the profession is paid, with what people should actually be doing. So, like, I think it's pretty interesting that, like, the exploited are blamed.
Go ahead.
And simultaneously, the exploited are somehow the ones who are exploiting the system by being here. Like, that's really
you better
weird.
Tell them. God damn it.
Right? It's wild to me how that is actually the case, and how people are so much like willing to side with the exploiter. Because I mean, think about it. People, these companies, are taking advantage of people's desire to come to Japan, right? To just recruit more people. It's not even about like, oh look, it used to be that they would offer enough money for people to pay off their student debt while they were in, right?
Yep.
And now it's like, oh, we'll pay you this much as much as we can offer, and people who are desperate to come here will just fucking take it because they're like, at least be in Japan. At least I'm experiencing Japan.
And I think it's interesting. You brought up the people who are coming from college. The people who aren't even here are now critiquing the people who are.
Right.
For how we're living in Japan, or how grateful or ungrateful we are for what's happening here.
Right.
When they have no real idea what it is. But we were talking about the people who know what it is.
Right.
They know that we're paying beans, that we're paid beans. They know that we're being exploited. And from their cushy recruiter job, they're now saying, oh, well, you guys are trash.
You assume that they aren't English teachers and ALTs themselves. Listen, this shit don't need to be logical. Hate does not need reason and rationale, or it does need a rationale. It doesn't have to be a logical rationale.
Yeah, you're right.
To function.
You're right.
Because
you're right.
these people just want to take somebody down. Why do I keep saying crabs in a bucket? Because they trying to keep you down, right? Even when
absolutely.
you're not making $1 million, even when you're not rolling around in a Bentley, even when you don't got, designer suits on every day or whatever, they just want to make someone else feel bad for once. So that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not studying these people. I'm not treating and diagnosing these people. They're not on my couch. But I can tell you, these motherfuckers is sad.
Sam, you're not a white peopleologist?
Listen, I speak English better than most of these motherfuckers. You can't tell right now. But my English, listen, when I was in university, why was I one of the only black writing tutors working for the school, getting paid by the school to teach white people how to write their own language?
It was a DEI hire.
DEI, yeah, that's a DEI hire right there. Man, I swear, affirmative action.
Why am I better at your language than you, and you trying to hate on me? Why can I speak like 3 languages, homie, and you can barely speak the one your people made?
Right.
Y'all forced this language on me, and I'm dunking on you.
See, here's my take on this whole thing, and this is
get off my Twitter. Get off my Twitter.
Staying kind of on this topic of hierarchies, right? Like, one of the things that I've always found really fascinating when it comes to like teaching English in Japan, right? And it kind of goes back to this crab mentality too, is how a lot of the people who are not teachers, right? They just happen to be married to a Japanese national, or happen to like whatever, just be in Japan for some reason. And then they get those teaching jobs, and they crap at their jobs because they don't know what they're doing. They're just kind of flopping around,
which is fine. It's fine to be crap at first. Like, I'm a stick up for the rookies out there. Being a rookie is fine. Being crap because you don't give a shit is a problem. But go ahead.
Right.
Now, once you get these people that are just there, and then the only reason why they're there is because they already have the visa. Like the company doesn't have to like fork over and do all the extra work. They're just like, oh, you're married? Cool. I got you, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the other people who the companies are taking this really huge risk of bringing them over. Even if they have a license, they bring them over. They have to like set them up with their apartment. They have to like babysit them because they don't speak Japanese. It's a huge risk for the company to do that. So the person that already has a visa will be like, I already had my visa. What the fuck is wrong with you? So they have nothing to do. They'll try to dunk on the licensed teacher because I already have my visa. What did you do?
So like for the record, there's nothing wrong with being a person married to a Japanese person who doesn't understand Japanese perfectly, who needs help from the spouse sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being an ALT. There's nothing wrong with being an English teacher. The problem is when you're trying to tell other people that they ain't shit, when they're doing their best, when they're doing an honest job, and they're not trying to bring other people down.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is when you're running around on the internet behind your fake names, behind your fake pictures, harassing people, stalking people, trying to dox people.
Yeah.
Like
that is the problem. Who do you think you're better than?
Yeah, it's
How
not
many
even that
times have
hard
you
to-
gotten banned by Twitter, by Reddit, by Discord,
it's not even that hard, dude. Just find a fucking hobby, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
they,
don't be an asshole.
guys,
Just
like
don't
these
be an
guys,
asshole.
they fucking live in Japan, dude. There's so much shit that you can do here.
Some of them
Besides,
don't
like,
even live in Japan,
yeah, some
homies.
of them don't even live in Japan, but some of them do. And
Some
it's
of
like,
them
there's
don't
some,
even live in Japan. They just got nothing better to do.
right? Like, I've seen this sock puppet account go after this guy named Alfie. And
Mm-hmm.
the only reason why they do that is like this guy, like he's making his living off of being a photographer in Japan. He's making
Right.
like money being a professional photographer, which, dude, more power to him. That's great.
Yeah.
You.
Mm-hmm.
And I see his photos, and I'm like, not my cup of tea. But you're doing your thing. Good on
Yeah.
you. But
I'm gonna ask you a question.
yeah,
I'm gonna ask you a question. How come you
sure,
never see these motherfuckers fucking with Japanese people?
right?
Well, they can't speak Japanese, so that's a problem. They
Ooh.
can't
Oh,
really.
okay. Oh, okay.
They got to speak the language to speak the language.
Right. And that's the thing with Alfie is like he went and he's doing all this stuff. He's talking to these like city officials and all stuff on his own. Like he doesn't need any of that shit. But they're
Yeah.
fucking gonna dunk on him, and it's like, bro, find a better hobby.
So like that's a big component of what's going on online. Like Twitter over the last 12 months or so has become an absolute cesspool of hate and vitriol and
What? Only this past 12 months?
okay. It's supercharged now. It's supercharged. We started off on Dragon Ball. Now we on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And
things are getting a little sellish over here.
Right.
Things
Yeah.
we got some filler episode niggas like trying to fuck with other people's shit.
I wanted to piggyback off of something he said before we move it along. He was talking about how the people who are doing the job, or rather, the people who are spouses, were contributing to this toxic kind of mentality. And you're referencing Twitter as well, and Twitter becoming a cesspool. It's interesting whenever we have a conversation about the things that could be better, about whether it be the teaching profession or Japan as a whole. There is a cadre of people who are ready and willing to jump in and say, and be Japan's white knight, and say that everything is perfect the way it is. The profession is perfect the way it is. You're just not appreciating it right. Like, or the money is perfect the way it is. You're just not spending it right.
Right.
And I think that kind of contributes to that toxicity within the teaching community, where like some of them want to view themselves as above what they do, quote unquote,
Right.
above what they do, in a way to kind of escape that culture of negativity that surrounds Twitter and the backlash they get from introducing themselves as teachers. Because let's face it, we've all been in that situation where we've introduced ourselves as a teacher and someone gave a sour face and you're like, yo, hey, fuck you. What the fuck? My job is great. The fuck you scrunch your face up for?
Like, and it's crazy how that works too, because I used to work at an international school before, right? And then I changed jobs and I started working at a university. When the difference I would notice people would make whenever I'd say, "Oh, I'm a teacher at an international school," people would just like dismissively be like, "Oh, whatever." Right? It's probably one of those McDonald's places, right? And then when I would say, "Oh, I work at a university," the hate that I would see on these white people's faces was amazing. Because every time it would just be like, why are you there? It's because I can speak Japanese, motherfucker. Like, fuck you.
I really do this. I really do this.
And one time this guy asked me, he's like, how much do you get paid working at the university? I bet they're paying you peanuts. And I'm like, bro, I get paid twice as much as you.
So let me go back to my point about them not fucking with Japanese people. My point about them not being condescending towards Japanese people, because when you're talking about the types of people that are trying to take away something from you, to take away something, to take away your self-confidence, to take away your pride, you are committing a sin against yourself by not realizing that there's a fallacy in their argument at the onset. And that fallacy is taking them at their word that they care about whatever they're fucking saying. They don't care. They don't care about what they're saying. The argument is secondary to the goal of harming you, the goal of making you feel less about yourself. It doesn't matter because in the US, no, we don't respect teachers very much. That's unfortunate. But like, you got, again, like fast food workers, like in the traditional capitalist, yuppie sort of hierarchy, you know, working at a part-time job, working at fast food, working a service job, being like a garbage man. Like, these are all professions that people look down on. These are all professions that white collar types look down on, and they're like, oh, that's your job, right? Why don't they do that in Japan? Why don't they look at Japanese sanitation workers, Japanese fast food workers? Why don't they do that? Because they don't really care about how much money you're making. They don't care about whether or not you're good at your job, whether or not there's value to your job. They just want to take you down because they feel they have so much self-hatred. They have so much misery about themselves that the only way they can alleviate these feelings, this self-loathing, that's the word I was looking for. The only way they can alleviate this self-loathing is to hate somebody else more than they hate themselves.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty common. Like, people try to minimize people by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, if you the way that you talked about like how people look down on these service jobs and stuff like that in the States, the same fucking thing happens in Japan. Let's not pretend.
Yeah, like if you're on J Twitter, yeah, absolutely, you can see it.
But he hits the 3Ks. Sanai Kiken.
Oh God, yes.
Kyuryo yasui. Those three.
Yeah.
Hate those three, right? But you know, you talk to a white person, and you're like, oh, what are the 3Ks? I don't know, because they don't speak fucking Japanese.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? And like if you were to talk to a Japanese person, like if they would legitimately try to seriously take you seriously and try to date you, the first thing they would do is they would look at your job, how much you make, and they'd be like, nah, kyuryo yasui, fuck you, I'm not fucking with you, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you even look at like how banks judge jobs here, or like judge whether or not they're going to give you a loan for a house here, it's based on the reputation of the company that you work for.
Right.
So like, but the concept of judgment in and of itself is normal, but the reason behind it is what matters.
Right.
And so like whenever someone's like, oh, well, you know, you're a teacher, like it's a trash job, like you're the lowest rung on the totem pole in Japan, maybe. Like if we're talking generally speaking, yeah, maybe I'm not like I'm definitely not the prime minister. Like, I'm definitely not somebody who like should yeah, not yet. I still got time. But
you heard it here first. Dontae Dakara's campaign for emperor.
Oh my God, you know what's gonna happen? Like, bro, they're gonna assassinate me. Stop, like, bro. Like, come on now. Like, I don't need that on my jacket.
Stay away from the Audubon ballroom.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. What kills me though is just the lack of self-awareness. Like, so when you're saying all these things, I can go back and look at what you're doing and see that you're doing the exact same thing I am. As a matter of fact, we're not the same. Like, because I did this job for 6 years and I did it the best that I could. And every year I picked up a little something. And guess what? Next year, now I'm the JTE, the J silent. I'm just, teaching English.
Right.
Like,
right.
I'm the civil servant. I'm working for the government. And you're going to be my assistant in the classroom now. The guy who's talking all that trash to me about my job will now be the guy that's like, should I copy these worksheets?
Right?
No, I got
And like,
that for you,
and
bro.
one more thing, one more thing. I want to reiterate: there is nothing wrong with being an English teacher. There's nothing
Nothing at
wrong.
all. I love
There's
the
nothing
job.
wrong with not being fluent in the language of the country you live in. Okay, like
Depends on how long you are here. I don't know,
do I
man.
think you should learn the language? I think like I don't think the government should force people to learn a language or whatever. Like I think for the benefit of for your own benefit, yes, learning the language is definitely something you should do. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing ethically, morally wrong with that. There's nothing ethically,
not at all.
morally wrong with being an English teacher. Nothing ethically, morally wrong with being a janitor. That's another profession in the U.S. that people like to look down on. I appreciate, yo, if you've ever studied in university and lived in a dorm, you fucking love janitors. I love, yo, when the janitors didn't show up for some reason, and I'm having to walk onto campus, walk off of the dorms, walk onto campus to use a clean toilet. Them janitors come back the next day. I'm like, oh, hi, sir. How are you doing? Good morning. Like, I recognize that every job has value.
Here we go.
I am not better than the person from like Nepal working at the convenience store.
Bang.
I don't say to myself, I make more money than this person. Bang. I know I make more money because I see the help wanted sign outside and I see how much per hour this guy's getting paid. I don't think to myself, I'm better than this person. I'm going to go online and I'm going to tell people, dude at the conveni, like, I get paid so much more than him. I'm so much better than him.
Let's think about it for a second. How would Japan even operate without the Nepalese dude in the convenience store? Let's think about that for a second.
I'm
not
telling you.
Not at all.
Right?
You want to look down on the janitor when the janitor don't come around.
Man, you really
you want to look down on a plumber when the plumber don't come around.
I mean, Sam really like clean toilets, man. You cannot.
Listen to me, man.
I mean, he has a hierarchy of needs, and toilets is the top of it.
I
don't want to be around the other dirty motherfuckers. Like that's the thing.
No, like you brought up a great point though about the comparison of jobs. You like seeing the help wanted sign and how would Japan survive otherwise. I think that everyone needs to realize that we all depend on each other for this system of not just like Japan, but like for humanity to work. There has to be a common level of respect for each other, a common level of understanding that without each other, this way of life does not work. And one thing about Japan that Japan does really well is do your job. Mm-hmm. If you do your job and everyone follows the same freaking routine and does their job, everything works out pretty well. Now, there's some people that
praise for Japan moment of the podcast. I want everybody to recognize this is happening right now. Save your letters.
Go ahead, highlight it. Go ahead, highlight it right now. This is a moment. It's a moment. I'm gonna seize it. However, there are some bad things where people work too much in Japan. See, I had to put some darkness on it. Like, but I think that the thing with these people that are hating is that they haven't realized that either A, the system is working for them, or B, they're fighting against a system that, like, their fights against a system that is helping them is only going to hurt themselves.
Right.
Or C, they are completely unaware that there is a system at all because they're not really here.
That's it. Like, I think that's the biggest one is they're not aware that there is a system at all. Like, everything that they've accomplished, quote unquote, they did it with quote unquote hard work and merit, when really it was just because they're white. Like a lot of times that's what it is, and they would refuse to see a system that's rewarding that shit. But then
I'm gonna be an equal opportunity employer for a second. Yeah, I have seen more than just white people do this shit. I have seen there are a lot of them. There are a lot of white people that do this shit, but there are a lot of people who aren't white who are doing this shit. So I don't want those people to be looking in the mirror, popping up their chests like, oh, they're talking about the white people. They're not talking about me. No, I'm talking about you too. Like
Right on.
the person who screams back black excellence, but talks shit about black people. I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
Old Sambo over there. So, okay. Back to Will. My bad.
No relation.
Different Sam.
The thing that these people kind of like don't realize is they like to shit on the job, right? On being a teacher or whatever the fuck, or whatever job it is. But they don't really see like the other side of the coin. Like there is a reason why certain people who have the ability to go somewhere else, who could go somewhere else and do something else somewhere else, choose not to. Right?
Yeah.
It took me a really long time to realize that. Like when I came back to teaching English after being in that university, it's like, oh yeah, dude, I value my time with my family. I value the ability to be able to pick up my kids after school and like have dinner with my kids rather than like have to like work at a job and not be able to leave because my boss is still there. Like, you know, like that shit really bothered the fuck out of me. And the fact that now I have, sure, I get paid less, whatever, but there's things that are more important than money, and like time with my family is definitely it.
Like I'm actually retired. Like I'm a medical retiree from the military, American military. And so like my decision to come over here was purely for happiness. Like I did my time. Like I sacrificed for a bunch of shit I didn't agree with and a bunch of shit I agreed with. And I decided to come here to find a little sliver of happiness by giving back to something, to creating something instead of destroying things. And so when people like shit on the job, like I'm looking at them like, bro, you don't know anything else. You don't know. Like I'm 37. Like I spent my youth, quote unquote, 10 years of all my 20s in places that I can't talk about in some cases, in places that you don't want to talk about in most cases. And I've decided that I'm going to spend my time and energy, yes, with less money on kids who don't look like me, but may encounter people that look like me in the future. And I want them to be able to communicate with them and not in the way that these motherfuckers are communicating with us on Twitter.
That's very well said. Holy shit.
Just another note. Notice how hiding behind anonymity makes the critique a one-way street, so that, you know, these people shitting on you have full or the full ability, they have full visibility into you and your life, but they shield themselves. Like these people who are supposedly superior to us are also afraid of our reprisal of them and our appraisal of them. And again, yet they're supposed to be better than us,
right? And the
also
funniest
their
thing,
accounts keep getting blocked and banned and suspended and this and that, but they're supposed to be better people. I'm sorry.
The funniest thing about all of that is just how much people that are doing all this shit opine on their main account being blocked. Right? A lot of these people are like, why am I blocked? I haven't interacted with this person. Well, how would you know?
Can you tell me how many times I've asked people, if you don't like what I got to say, block me?
Right?
I'm begging you. I'm begging you to block me. I'm begging you to block me because you're wasting my time with these tweets. You're wasting my time trying to hurt me. I'm from the hood, baby. Listen, if you're not saying it to my face, what the fuck is you talking about?
That's the thing.
You trying to hurt me with words over the internet? Are you in my face? That's the only question.
A lot of these motherfuckers love to do that shit. They love to come up and just talk shit on the internet about you. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, are you, number one, are you even here? Like, a lot of these motherfuckers, like, aren't even in Japan talking shit about, like, you should be grateful that you're even in the country. Motherfucker, please. Like, do you know what I'm doing?
Get on my time zone, baby. Get on my time zone.
Like, I don't fashion myself as being like above the people who are on the outside. However, I do think that the people on the outside should probably be a little bit more empathetic to the people who are on on the inside. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure some of them have their favorite J vloggers that they watch, and they dream about the day that they can come to Japan and live out their weeb dreams. And to those people that they watch, they're gonna hang on their every word. But I don't know. I don't know how many of y'all have bought something on Amazon, but I don't just look at the 5-star reviews. I look at the 2-star reviews. Like, because you look at the 5-star only, you'll see a bunch of them have been paid, or a bunch of them have been asked to review something. Look at the 2 stars.
It's not always a good idea to hang on their every word, because when you actually meet them, you really find out what kind of people these people are. And I've
Exactly.
had kind of experience where I've met someone. I like when I was in the States, I would like watched his vlog. I was like, this guy seems cool. And I met the guy and I was like, nah,
He's not. It's not it. It's not it.
he's
Not
not it.
it.
It's like it was really disappointing to see that. And it's like, you know what? Instead of like taking this guy at his word, like I could have just like been doing other stuff, you know? I could have that whole time watching this guy and consuming this guy's content could have been spent better improving my Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
I actually was on. I went to a couple of functions here in Tokyo, where there was a bunch of creators who got together. It's for the Tokyo Weekender magazine release. It's a great event. Like, meet a bunch of different people from a bunch of different industries. You can see, like, some of the famous YouTuber, quote unquote famous YouTubers, and all that jazz from Japan, and you realize like that people's experiences are very different depending on when they came here, their socioeconomic status, like,
Mhm.
and what they're willing to expose themselves to within the Japanese community itself. And so some of them are so segregated from Japanese people that they don't really live in Japan.
Yeah.
Japan is just the backdrop for this show that they're doing on YouTube.
Mhm.
That's a really great way to put it. Because
Another
when
thing
you
is the region you live in, because like I started off like I have a feeling a lot of these, and it's not just online trolls, it's also people in real life, and people in real life often aren't going to like sit there and try to troll you. They'll be like negative towards you. They'll be like a lot more low key about it. But I started off my time in Japan, I started off in Toyama, and I it was to the point my dishes wasn't getting washed. I was invited to dinners and parties every weekend, every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday. I was just my calendar was filled to the it was causing me stress how much partying I was doing. Because I
Man,
was like, yo, I gotta do laundry. Like, okay, no, I can't come to the party tonight. No, I gotta do laundry. Because when you're when you're in the city, life is like a competition, right? And that's not just us.
it's a
That's
grind.
Japanese people too.
Yeah,
It's
it's a grind.
it's crabs in a bucket. When you're out in the countryside, there's so few people, even Japanese people are a lot warmer, a lot nicer. But like when you see somebody from abroad, you know, within 5 minutes you got their line, you got them on Facebook. Like I wasn't even on social media that much because I had an actual social life that was so
Yeah.
busy. Like Facebook was my event calendar. That's what Facebook was, you know?
Yeah,
I was barely
it's
fucking with
interesting how
Reddit.
that's changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, for me, it has changed a lot because, I moved over to Kanto and people are weird
people
here.
are
People
cold,
are very strange. Yes.
I
well,
think that's
it
I
go-
hate
yeah,
Tokyo.
go ahead.
I just don't like it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was there for a month for training for one of my jobs, and I just could not stand being there. It was suffocating. I really
Mm-hmm.
love where I live. I love Nagoya a lot.
Right.
But there's not much to do. It's like this weird halfway point between countryside because it's quiet and city because it's quite a big. It's the third largest metropolitan area in Japan. So it's like
Yeah.
there is. It's city enough to be convenient, but it's countryside enough to be far away from shit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's a beautiful place.
a good place to raise a family.
Being the Tokyo person, I'll defend Tokyo for a second. I lived in Ibaraki, I lived in Chiba, and now I'm living in Tokyo. I've lived in Tokyo for the past 3 years now. There are bubbles, and like everyone stays in their bubble. And this not just a foreign thing; it's a Japanese thing. Like even in careers, everyone stays in their bubbles. The salesmen are with the salesmen, the designers are with the designers, the artists are with the artists, the teachers are with the teachers, and very few times do those bubbles combine or mix.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, "Oh yeah, have you ever gone to this place? Like they have a bunch of they have a bunch of art books there." Da, da, da. Like, oh no, like I don't really go to places like that. I'm like, why not? He's like, oh well, I'm a teacher. I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with
Right.
And this person was Japanese. Like, what does that have to do with you
Right.
like expanding and going out? And he was like, oh, it's just not my thing, or it's just not my area. It's like
Right.
and it's fun. Every station is a bubble, but every career is a bubble, and so it's. And I keep trying to tie it back to what our main theme, so we don't lose those people who are tuned in for the drama. Like a lot of the times that those people are making comments about Japan or comments about teachers or things like that, they don't realize that you're seeing such a small bubble,
Right.
and you're judging Japan on such a very, very focused area. It's
Very
like
small.
yeah, you're judging an entire body by a clump of cells. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't make the metaphors too difficult in case some of these haters are listening. They're not gonna,
Nah, I mean,
they're not gonna process. But
no, they're gonna get this work. I'm teaching somebody. I'm gonna teach somebody.
imagine listening to a podcast and just listening it because you hate on the people that are on it. Imagine doing that shit. Oh my god.
Listen,
That's some next level
listen.
hate. That's some next level hate.
All right, but like I'm serious though about the countryside. When I was out there in the countryside, I would start in one party and end up in another and not even know how I got there. I met so many people, drank and broke bread with so many people from around the country and around the world, being introduced to people's families, making friends with just random people. And it was
awesome,
such a beautiful thing. How many houses have I, had sake with people? How many times have I, seen a coming of age ceremony party, watching newly minted adults get a hangover for the first time? Like how many
That's
times?
amazing.
How many times have I just like started a conversation with a complete random stranger and found a friend that, I talked to months and years later? But
Amazing, right?
come over to Tokyo. Come over to Kanto. Things a little bit different. And I think probably part of the problem for some of these people that are in the gaijin community but need to have this sense of superiority over the gaijin community, like I think they literally don't have a real sense of community. And like I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm fairly certain these people are dealing with dark triad personality traits. Like again, I'm not going to go into that because that's not my lane. But these people have actual fucking problems.
Right. And you know what the fucked up thing about that is? These people, like, they don't have community, right? Like you said. And it's not that hard to build community, but it's so easy to isolate yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And they build community on Twitter by bashing and hating on other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's which is so weird to me how you would do that. How could you bond over hating on someone?
Yeah,
because you hate yourself. You hate yourself, homie.
Well,
because
they
don't even know who each other is. Like, that's the funniest thing. They don't even know who each other are because they're hiding their faces. They're hiding their names.
I can put some psychology to this. Like, I mean,
Go ahead.
everyone needs a common enemy. Like, and so
Mm-hmm.
the enemy of the unthinking man is the thinking man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so anyone who thinks that, like, okay, this person is wrong, it's like, oh, well, I want to join in on that. Like, I don't like this person for my own particular reasons, whether it be like they don't agree with your logic or they don't agree with your skin color, they don't agree with your choice of profession, like what have you. Everybody wants to be in a community, even those dark triad people. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you who don't know what dark triad is, it's narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Like, even those people want to feel like they belong to something. So I think that in these particular situations on Twitter, it's easier to join in on hate because how much positivity do you see on Twitter? Like,
Right.
how
Mm-hmm.
many times have you seen someone post something and it go viral for something positive?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
almost never. Almost
Exactly.
never.
Right.
Hate
And
is easier to do than love.
and then the other thing too is even if you do post something positive, like someone will like hate tweet it, hate share it, and that'll go viral because
Yeah.
all of the
Right.
comments, right? Like a,
Yep.
a real it's so wild to me how that even works. Like um a few months back I was like, I was talking to my son, I was playing The Legend of Zelda with my kid, and this little motherfucker, he didn't speak English. So he asked me, he's like, Daddy, もう一回、Zelda no Mensetsu yaru? Like, Zelda no what?
Zelda no
Like,
Mensetsu.
what the fuck? I posted on Twitter. It blew up because someone tried to drag me
Mm-hmm.
for it, and that's what it blew up. And it's like, guy, really? Like, this shit's
Right.
funny. He's a funny
Yeah.
this little kid
Yeah.
is 6 years old, dog. You're over here talking shit on a 6-year-old? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right. And like, I
again,
want to push
easy to
back a
hate.
little bit on one. I want to push back a little bit on that easy to hate idea. I believe it, but I want to add some nuance to it. It's easier to hate than love for an insecure person. It's easier to hate than it is to love for a broken person. Okay? For me, like I'm not, out here turning the other cheek for my haters, but like I'm also not like obsessively sitting there thinking about them and, thinking about, oh man, this guy said this to me, I'm going to say this back to them. I'm just kind of like, this person really dislikes me and also really likes interacting with my tweets. I think I'm just gonna distance myself from this person.
These motherfuckers out here talking shit. Now, the first thing they'll say when you say something about Japan is, "You should be grateful that you're here." Motherfucker, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
That's the reason why we bring up these issues is because we are grateful for being here and we need stuff to change because this shit is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But these motherfuckers are like, be grateful that you're here. Shut the fuck up, nigga. I was like, God damn it,
Right.
really? Is
Right.
that what we're
I
And
mean,
they said shut up nigga to Martin Luther King in the 60s.
right?
Now white people love Martin Luther King. In the 60s he was a troublemaker. In the 60s
Right?
he incited violence. In the 60s he should have just been more patient.
I think
We see you, homie.
I think people mistake a lack of gratefulness for the willingness to see the need to get better. Like
Mm-hmm.
like good is the enemy of great. Like so like we want to continue to push ourselves, like, and not just say, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good, but we could be
Mm-hmm.
better. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's my responsibility to make Japan better. It's not. I am a foreigner. Now, my kids eventually, like when
That's
when I have kids,
exactly.
that
Exactly.
it will be their responsibility. Right now, it's technically not my country. So my students, I'm giving them the tools to communicate with people, to see things in a different way so that they might be able to fix Japan. But I know I can't. I can only illuminate the issues that I see to those who are in my sphere of influence and hope that the trickle down effect, not the Clinton kind, the trickle down effect will actually help somewhere in the future. And I think that people are so bothered, and we talked about this at the very beginning, that people have made loving Japan their identity so much that any criticism of Japan is an existential crisis for which they must explode over.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference between loving Japan, right, and understanding that it's a real place that has problems, and just being a fanatic that just has this fantasy of what Japan should be, and trying to defend that idea with everything you have. And it's like, that's not it, homie. Like, you can love something and be critical of it. Like, you can love Japan and be critical of the work culture that has no, like, feasible work-life balance where people
There's
fucking die.
Japanese people that's critical of this shit, and like if you talk to a Japanese person, you would hear Japanese people say, "Yeah, we work too much."
And the other thing I also hear too is like, what about America? It's like, yeah, you can love America and be critical of these motherfuckers that are giving bombs to Israel. You can do that. You can do both.
Right.
It's like mutually exclusive. It's not one or the other. It can be both, But these psychopaths that really like fanboy over the idea that they have constructed about what Japan should be is the biggest problem that I have with all of this, because they're the first ones to jump in when you say something like, "Oh, I had this experience that was negative, and it was a negative experience because of the color of my skin." And the first thing they'll be like, "You have to be grateful that you're even there, motherfucker. If you don't like it, get the fuck out." And like, what the fuck?
I want to bring it back to the kids, because I'm not Japanese. I don't plan on living here forever. But when I was teaching at this high school, there was this excellent English program, and there were a lot of so-called hafu students with one Japanese parent, one parent from some other country, some other culture. And we had this annual essay writing contest, and every year there were like 2, 3, 4, 5 students that wanted to talk about racism. These are 14, 15, 16, or wait, what is high school again? 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
That age range. Young people, Japanese people who wanted to speak on racism. And that's not Sam on the Twitter. That's actual Japanese people who are not being recognized as Japanese people in their birth country, in the country of their birth. And this is something that is on their minds. And the types of people that criticize me and say, "Oh, you're just angry. Oh, you're just mad," are also likely having children and trying to raise children in Japan. And these people will be like, "Oh yeah, my kid never had any problem with discrimination in Japan."
Fuck you.
And I'm just thinking to myself, homie, your kid don't trust you. Your kid knows they can't talk to you about those issues because they see you're a sycophant. They see you're you have this Pollyanna image of Japan, and they know you're not rocking with them. You're not in the same reality. So doing this is important for the kids.
Yeah. Or here's the other thing. There's the other possibility. They physically can't talk to them because the parent never bothered to learn Japanese. So they can't communicate on a deep level about these things because they don't understand their own fucking children. Like, if you're going to have children in Japan, right, and you don't speak the language, then there is no way in hell you're going to have a deep, meaningful conversation about the things that need to happen. And that's one of the biggest things, one of the reasons why I kind of refuse to teach my kids English. It's like, yo, I decided that I'm going to live here. I decided that we're going to live here. It's not much safer for them to be little black boys in Japan than it is for them to be little black Afro-Latinos in the United States.
Bang.
Period. Period. Fuck what anybody has to say. That's my decision. That's boom. Okay. But by doing so, I actually even went further and said, you know what? I am not going to let these kids struggle with communicating with me Therefore, I'm going to make the effort to speak Japanese to that level where I can talk about my feelings, where I can express myself. We can talk about deep things, because or else what's the fucking point of living here? Right? If my kid comes up to me and tells me, hey, I feel like this, help me out, Dad, then I can do that in a language they can understand. Instead of having to like use a translator, use my wife as an intermediary. Nah, dude, this is happening in Japanese, homie. Because I speak Japanese, you speak Japanese, we live in Japan. You have to speak Japanese. You know?
Yep. I mean, like, I can't tell you, like, as a teacher, how many times I've had this conversation with students about bullying and things like that. So I think that, like, this goes back to the profession, man. Like, minimalizing teaching as a profession shows how much you know about the profession, because because I mean, I don't have kids of my own yet. So like all of my energy goes into the kids that I do see, and helping them navigate the world that they're inheriting, both the online and the offline world. Because if people think that this toxicity is only on Gaijin Twitter, like foreigner Twitter, you got another thing coming. J Twitter is or as bad, if not worse, than what's going on Gaijin Twitter. Like seriously.
Like, just to give you an example of that, like I don't know if you guys heard about this. It was where Kishida mentioned something about how if permanent residents didn't pay,
Yeah,
they would strip them of their status, right?
yeah.
So top comment on that news article was this Japanese person using a sock puppet account, because Japanese people love to do this shit. He was like, kick them all fucking out. There are no foreigners deserve to be there if they're
everybody.
using
Everybody.
yeah, let's kick out all the foreigners that are using this let's take Hojo, like the welfare. Like we don't need them here. And then
no pension for you.
The reply for that was this woman that was like, my parents, my dad is an American, and I'm a half Japanese person. I've contributed to society. I'm a shakaijin. I work at a company. I pay my taxes. So you're telling me that my dad should go back home for some offense, right? When think about how that's gonna make little kids feel. Like your comment, how that would make little kids feel if they know that you're rejecting their parent. And then his reply is, "Fuck you, foreigner, get the fuck out." So it's like,
bang.
That's
Jeez.
a deep, nuanced response.
It was a
Not
very
shocking.
And he was like, "Yeah, fuck you, get the fuck out." It's like,
this is the world. This is the world, and I go back to, it's easy to hate. Like this platform, like Twitter, rewards that kind of behavior. It rewards those people. It even rewards us for posting things that we care about, just so that people can hate on them. Make no mistake. Like I've seen certain Twitter users get bumps because of the negative hate that they receive. Like I think there's one kimono maker. She constantly posts positives, but like she's also having to deal with fighting back all of the time. And the fighting back is probably what's helping her algorithm. Like, and so Twitter rewards the fact that people hate her, and they reward that by showing that hate more and more.
Right. And you have to dig. Like, I know who you're talking about. Like, whenever you go, like, whenever I see comments pop out on my feed for her, it's her in response to some fucking idiot spewing hate to her. And I would go back up, like, layers upon layers to find the original tweet, which was...
And it's nothing. It's nothing.
Like, the last time it happened was, like, she was, like, someone posted a picture of like people tend to do, of people using the escalator in Japan. It's like, look at how orderly Japan is. Wow, this is great.
But you never seen Shinjuku.
Your comment was something like, you've never been to Osaka, shut the fuck up. And like something like that. It wasn't even like bad. It's like, I've seen Osaka is not like this. Come on, guy. And
exactly.
So
the other thing, just notice who they focus their attention on, right? Why is it 9 times out of 10, why is it a woman? And the other 10%, it's a person of color, it's an LGBTQ person, or again a woman. Why is that?
And you know, when you have the trifecta of that, like woman, person of color, who happens to be a part of the LGBT community, that
Wait,
intersection.
I think I know
Right.
who you're referencing. Like,
Yeah. Like that tweet was so funny.
benign.
It was
Yeah.
benign.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but yes, you're right. Yes.
It was awesome. I saw that tweet. I was like, absolutely. I showed it to my wife, and my wife was like, yes. Every
For the
Japanese
people,
she was like,
at home that don't know what we're referencing, it's a meme that shows the dichotomy between visiting Japan and living in Japan. Visiting being a whole lot more enjoyable than living here. Go on. Sorry.
I've told people that verbatim.
if a Japanese person, a Japanese man, were to share that, it would have blown up and be like, yeah,
Right.
truth speaks truth. But because it was a black, LGBT, woman, I don't know if they're non-binary or not, but they, look like a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got so much hate.
Yeah.
And like the amount of hate they got for that innocuous tweet did not equal to the amount of humor of the
Yeah.
of it was funny, but it wasn't funny.
Let's just say it though. A lot of these people are actual racists. A lot of them are actual homophobes. A lot of them are actual misogynists. A lot of them are actual transphobes. Far right types. A lot of these motherfuckers are full of hate. They're never going to admit it. A racist is never going to tell you, "Oh yes, I am a racist." They'll tell you with their actions. I promise you. Look at their profiles.
Yo, I've said this
Look at
one
their
time.
profiles, and the profile will tell you everything you need to know about these people.
I've said it once, and I've said it many times again. Like I'll say it a million times. The worst thing you could call a black person is the N-word. The worst thing you can call them is a nigger, right, with the hard R.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can call a white person is a racist. Like they'll never admit to being it, but you sure as hell know that they are.
Yeah. And the race, like all the racists aside, like I think sometimes we give people like an out by being racist. By calling people racist, we don't give them the due credit they deserve for being freaking idiots. Like, I think that racism is its own class of stupidity that cannot be compared to just being a general idiot. Like being generally ignorant, being so obtuse that you will not process new information. Like it could be coming from anybody. Let's say that there is a white person who says all the same things that we are saying here today.
Right. They're not even going to be on their radar.
Do you think that they're going to agree with that person? No, they're not going to agree with them at all. And it has nothing to do, like in this particular case, in this particular example, it has nothing to do with race so much as they don't want that message. They just use race, or they use gender, or they use sexual orientation or preference as the low-hanging fruit to attack an idea that they have no idea how to analyze.
Mm-hmm. That's like just again another thing. Like none of these people are interested in an actual debate. None of them are interested in an actual argument. Everything is a personal attack. Everything is some edgelord meme or image macro because they're not actually capable of defending their own beliefs. Like the only another reason they hide behind anonymity is so that they can challenge your beliefs without having to reveal their own, because they know that they can't defend their beliefs, right?
I mean, I'm not really interested in debating people about their beliefs anyway, because we live in a world where no one's willing to change. Like, I realize that, like, I am rare in the fact that I'll take new information and I'll change my mind about something. Like, and I have no problem telling people, you know what, I changed my mind. Like, I think, like, I used to think this, now I think this. Like, I believe that is an absolute necessity for survival, or at least for evolution. Like, you must be able to process information and change your opinion, change your mind. And I think that because people are and this goes back to what Will said, people have made their opinions about Japan their identity. And so it's impossible to change in a world where we continue to seek an opportunity to dunk on each other, to razz or burn each other because of something we said 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, I don't expect that 10 years ago me knew as much as me now. So that motherfucker could be a fucking dummy. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And I expect that 10 years from now, 37-year-old me will look like a fucking dummy. And if he doesn't, then I haven't learned anything. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't grown. And these people, it's not my job to educate them. It's not my job to debate with them. It's not my job to placate them. So when they seek me out, I have nothing to say to them other than, oh, thank you. Bye. Like, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. Why? You're not going to take anything out of this. I'm the only one who's going to be taking something from this. Like, why should I take this to my body? Why should I absorb all the negativity? No, thank you. I'm not going to be involved.
Right. So to tag on to that real quick, again, ask yourself when you're getting messages from people like this, and again, offline people are going to be a lot more indirect. They're going to be a lot more subtle about it. But really ask yourself, what is this person actually saying? Or what is motivating what they're actually saying? Not everybody that disagrees with a black man is racist. Definitely not trying to say that.
Yeah, you're right. You're
definitely
absolutely
not trying to say that. But there's a difference between saying, Sam, I disagree with what you just said. And if I understand correctly, you said, A equals B. And I disagree with you because I think X equals Y.
Yeah. That
is completely different than saying, Sam, you're just an angry black man. Sam, why is everything about race? Why is everything... What is that person saying? That person is saying, you're an angry nigger, shut up.
Right.
As opposed to saying, again, I believe this, and I disagree with you because of this.
It's wild to me, going back to what we were talking about earlier about changing your beliefs. That's the best quality to have in the type of world that we live in now. Because I remember during the election with John Kerry, George Bush.
Yeah.
Talking and telling John Kerry he was a flip-flopper. They were trying to dunk on him or dunking on him for changing his mind.
Exactly.
And
I remember that. Formative years, those.
He couldn't defend himself well because all he had to say was, "I learned from my mistake," or "I learned from my position. I learned more." That's he should have said that, and that would have been fine for me. But he couldn't. He literally couldn't admit to it because admitting to it would mean that he was weak. And it's so wild to me how people who do not evolve are the ones who dictate the rules of engagement. They're like, I believe this. I've always believed this.
Right.
Well, it's because the person who's willing to be flexible is the only person willing to be flexible. If you're negotiating something and only one person is willing to think about the other person in the negotiation, then that person who's thinking about the other person lost.
Yeah.
Because the other person's rigid. They want what they want and they're not going to move, but you're willing to move towards them, so they win. So that's why we have a world where everyone stays entrenched in their ideas and no one's willing to give anything because they think that the other side isn't either.
So, gentlemen, we've been going on for an hour and 15 minutes of just raw dialogue. Not all of this is going to make it into the episode, but also people have a tolerance for listening to a podcast. I think people will listen to this one. I have a strong feeling people will listen to this one. But I do also want to put some positivity on this, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to come over and if they're not horrified by what we've already said and they decide not to come over, if they still decided to come over to Japan, I also wanted to include some advice, some ideas on how we can overcome the crab mentality, the crabs in a bucket phenomenon, and etc. So like you're coming over to Japan for the first time, or maybe you've been here for a few years and you're experiencing some of this negativity, you're experiencing some of this like tearing, people in your community, quote unquote, because just because we're gaijin doesn't mean we're all in the same community, but you're experiencing people tearing each other down, or you're coming over and you want to prepare yourself for it. Like, what are some thoughts that you have on surviving and thriving in the face of this phenomenon?
I would say three things. One, trust your instincts. Like, trust that you know who around you is like actually for you. Like, you know what it feels like when people are actually there for you, and when people are there just to see you fall. Like what is it? I think Dave Chappelle says like everyone loves to see a good man fall. So like I think that first you need to trust your instincts. Secondly, expand your circle. Like if you find that you are around a crab, expand your circle. Like because there are going to be other people that are willing to help you up. There are people that are willing to boost you. People that are where you are, and they're willing to hear you out where you are and help you to get to the next level, or at least just to help distract you from the negative things that happen around here because they're unavoidable. The second year slump is unavoidable. Like, and then lastly, I would say you should stay focused on why you came here in the first place. So a lot of people came here for a certain passion. Explore that passion, expand on it, figure out where that passion came from. A lot of people came here because they like manga and anime. Learn Japanese so you can get into the deep cuts. Find more books about your favorite artist, or buy your favorite artist that you can't get in America. Do what you came here to do. Like, don't let other people shade or color your experience because you believe that someone who has 1,000 followers, which are usually bots, or 1 million subscribers on YouTube, like you have to listen to exactly what they say. You don't. You can do your own thing and enjoy it. I've done it. You can do it too.
Wonderful, beautiful. Will, what you got?
I'm gonna copy and then say three things because that's concise. The first one is give yourself and everybody else around you grace.
Yeah.
Really easy to just kind of assume that everybody's evil, but when you do that, you just become a paranoid mess that's not going to expand or do anything.
Bang.
So try to give people grace. Like, why was this person mean to me? They're having a bad day. Maybe I should be alone today. Why is this happening to me? Why is this bad thing happening? Maybe something else is happening. Let's just why can't I do this today? Maybe I'm having an off day. I'll try again tomorrow. Have grace, man, because the second that you start doing that, like your experience just anywhere, not just in Japan, will be better.
Yeah.
The second one, man, is just find your own path. Like it's crazy how much people, especially young kids, will look up to a famous YouTuber or whatever and like, I want to do what he's doing. I want to be in Japan and do what he's doing. And it's really easy to try to make that your path, but it's like, nah, man. You have to live your own life. You have to figure out what you want to do on your own. So you got to figure out your path. And I'm going to say this as a person who hasn't figured out their path yet. I'm still figuring that shit out. I came here and I'm still working on it, and it's gonna take time. You might find a path that you're gonna hyper focus and go there. You might not, and that's fine. But just don't try to make someone else's experience your experience. Do your own thing. And
Wonderful.
lastly, fucking learn Japanese. That's the most important one. Because I've known so many people here. I've met so many people here. And I hate to say this like this, but I'm just gonna say it. So many white men here in Japan who rely on their spouse or their significant other or even their children after their spouses call it quits to be their translators. And it's like, that's the worst fucking thing you could ever do for yourself because that's not attractive at all. Nope. It just makes you look bad and it's just going to make you miserable.
Yeah.
If you like the people who are successful here are the people who can navigate the community, like speak the language, communicate with people around them, build community within Japanese circles, fucking find hobbies in a Japanese setting where you can communicate with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's awkward at first because they're like, oh shit, you don't look like you speak Japanese, but you do. Haha. Yeah, whatever. But eventually that gets, it gets better, and you form communities outside of work, outside of family, and you'll be better for it. But definitely, learning Japanese is a fucking must if you're going to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So difficult acts to follow, but I really do, and I try not to allow hate to infect me, even when people clearly express hatred towards me and wish me harm, figuratively and literally, over internet shit, if you can believe it. But like, I really want to say that a lot of people come over to Japan. Most people, English speakers from the West, most of them are coming over as English teachers. Most of them are coming over in their early 20s. You don't know who you are yet. You're probably still a little insecure. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
You don't know what's good about you yet. And I want to caution you against allowing yourself to indulge in building yourself up by bringing other people down, or enjoying seeing other people ridicule other people, and tear other people down, because that doesn't help you. It might feel good in the moment, but you shouldn't be interacting with people in a way that you're going to feel ashamed of later, or you would feel ashamed of if people knew your name and, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your employer saw what you were doing, right? You should, okay, let's not should it, but like, this is an opportunity. This is something that is not afforded to everyone, being able to come over to Japan. Some people, again, for the English teaching jobs, there's actually people that get rejected. And like, I know it's hard to believe, but not everybody gets to come over here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, are you building yourself up? Are you becoming a more confident person? Are you becoming a person that is more capable, more competent at your job or whatever you're doing with your life? Or are you spending all your time thinking of ways to make other people's lives more difficult? And ask yourself about the people that are around you. Ask yourself about the people in your circle. Are these positive people? Or are these people that, are again, like, they're trying to, like, literally hurt other people? Literally trying to tear other people down. And it can be a little hard at first to see the difference. And I've seen people start off very sort of like competitive and condescending towards other people in their community. And I've seen them grow out of it. I've seen them grow out of it, and I've been very happy to see some of these people mature into, mature adults instead of insecure children. And like, I think you should be trying to find and build a community of people that help you become a better person, a more positive person. I know that sounds a little pat, but I really believe that.
No, absolutely.
I know I used to be that kind of person that would try to bring other people down. I used to be like that. And I grew out of it. I matured. I became a better person for it. It's not impossible.
you know, like, and again, like, people don't have perfect lives, you know, believe it or not. You come over to Japan as a black person and or a woman or, you know, an LGBTQ person. Like, guess what? You're still gonna have problems. There's white guys that have problems. Like, everybody, like, your life is not gonna be perfect. And
everywhere you go, there you are.
Right.
Everywhere you go, there you are.
Believe how many people come here expecting that Japan is going to fix their problems. And I've heard Japanese people tell me, like, Japan is not a magic fix, man. If you had problems over there, you're going to have problems here. You have to learn to deal with your problems, man.
Right. And this podcast is a reaction to that Pollyanna view that everything here is perfect and there's no problems. Like, it is unhealthy to not talk about your problems, because then you can't deal with them. And if you delude yourself to a certain point, you don't even know what your own problems are. You don't know what's going wrong in your life. There's conflict and sadness and confusion because you're not reckoning with what's really going on in your life. So this podcast, I know people are going to react to me saying, surround yourself with positive people. And they'll be like, that fucking Sam doesn't sound so positive. But like, this, I've had people tell me this is helping them because it's so taboo to talk about your problems in Japan that a lot of people are just suffering in silence. And this podcast is not, like a 1 million subscriber podcast. I'm not Joe Rogan over here, but I'm helping people.
Thanks guys for this conversation. I really, this was a great one. Thanks,
Thank
guys,
you very much, gentlemen. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too.
All right. Peace out. Thank you for listening to the Tokyo Tea Party Podcast. A very special thanks to our guests, Will and Dontae. Today's music from TuneTank.com, Sunset Dance by Algani, and Rhythm of Havana, courtesy of Pineapple Music. For info on today's guests, please check the show notes. Did you enjoy today's episode? Give this episode a like, share it with your friends, or leave a comment on social media. If you find this podcast especially valuable, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Tokyo Tea Party Podcast, all one word. Thank you. I've been your host, Samuel Darbouze. Be easy, y'all. Mina, genki de ne? Peace! And if it's not helping you, okay, I'm sorry. Go find somebody else to listen to. Start your own podcast. I'm not for everybody.
Or just check the next episode. Maybe the next one will help you. Just
maybe the next one will help you. We'll make a Japanese lesson. For people whose wives have been
they're translators.
Yeah, I'm gonna free you. I'm gonna free your wives from you. Ooh, that sounds bad. I am not a homewrecker. I am a humble podcaster.
On my way to take your wife. Like, come on.
You better hide your wife, hide your husband.
Jeez Louise. Man, I mean, I don't know, man. He said he loves janitors, he loves clean toilets, and he loves your wife, man. We gotta go.
Let's not kink shame a brother, okay? Listen. Man, I'm gonna have to cut a few things from this episode.
Nah. Let it rock.
Let it rock, he says.
No,
These
but
guys,
thanks,
come into my house. They come into my house. All right, anyway.